Huge shout out to our sponsors, the Battle Bunker, for this opening.
Cool. Alright guys, so we are lucky enough to be opening up a box of Sun and Moon Burning Shadows. And let's have a look at what we can get and talk a bit around the set. And maybe we can see what kind of pull rates we get. So just to introduce Dane, who you can see on camera.
Hi guys.
Looks after the Battle Bunker in Claremont, Cape Town. And we get a lot of new players coming in, a lot of juniors, a lot of guys converting from other games, looking to know what kind of cards they should play with, what kind of decks they should build, what they should be looking for from the new set. And one of the big things that I think a lot of people struggle to understand is this concept of rotation. So the rotation happens every year, straight after Worlds or the World Championships.
The one you're going to?
The one that I'm going to.
Yes.
So that's in about 3 weeks' time. And at the end of that month, the end of August, we will be in the new rotation. So on average, Pokemon releases about 4 sets a year, and generally a mini set as well. And what that means is that certain cards interact with each other in a way that was never intended. So what Pokemon does is they rotate between 3 and 4 sets out every year, prior sets, or they also update a ban list of cards that really don't work well with the new set and the new cards that are
Currently
released.
too strong actually in the current system.
Correct. Overpowered, or they create kind of unexpected outcomes. They also just generally will rotate out of generations of Pokemon. So now that we're moving out of the X and Y era into the Sun and Moon era, they're going to start rotating those sets out. We had a new mechanic come into the game called the break evolution, and you'll see in this rotation they've rotated pretty much everything prior to the break evolution set. So that's really, what most of us anticipated from a rotation perspective. But what that means is we lose a couple of key trainer cards. If you play competitively Pokemon, you'll know that your trainer count is on average 30 or more cards out of your 60 card deck are going to be trainer cards, at a minimum half of those cards. And those are critical to executing your game strategy. So what we find in this set now, in this rotation, is that some of the cards in this set will help us overcome some of the things we lose in the new rotation.
So they are pretty good trainers actually in the set.
Really good trainers. Not nearly as good as some of the ones we're losing, but at the same time really good. So 2 of the key cards that we are losing, which we have no immediate replacement for, but which we have some sort of replacement for, at least one of them in the last set, is the loss of Shaman EX, which had the setup ability. Play it down, draw 6, correct. Being able to refresh your hand without having to actually play a supporter to do that is kind of almost broken. And then we also lose Via Seeker, what some people call Versus Seeker, which allowed you to get supporters out of your discard pile. So what that did from a game pace perspective and a deck building strategy perspective was it meant you could play lower counts of supporters because you could get them back as and when you needed them.
Or even if you had running 4, you could have it in addition a 5th or 6.
Correct. And you had access to it in a different way. So if 5 supporters were in your discard pile and you had 1 Via Seeker, you could get any one of those 5.
Absolutely.
And that is an incredible thing and something that we're all going to miss a lot. So we have no replacement for that. But we do have replacement for one of the other really good trainers, which was Lysander. Lysander lets you bring a Pokemon up off your opponent's bench. Now we have Guzma. That forces you to switch as well, but
that's not a bad thing if you
not
preset
a bad
it up.
thing. Correct. If you've got a free retreater, that ability to force a switch removes things like status conditions. So just generally really, really good. So let's have a look at the box that we are going to open. And I'm just going to check the camera here. All right, cool. So it's Sun and Moon Burning Shadows, 36 boosters, and we can see what we can get from the set, what kind of pull rates we'll get, and hopefully we get something decent. I traditionally have really bad pull rates.
But that's got me here for. That's
yeah, exactly. So I think what we'll do is I'm going to try and keep it in order so we can understand what kind of, whether the packs are mappable at all.
That was a big problem, obviously,
correct.
in the previous set.
Last set, the packs were mappable, so you were actually able to
We ended up
identify.
having to shuffle the actual packs when they arrived at the shop to ensure that it wasn't just people coming in and taking the pack they wanted.
Yeah, so that is a big deal, and hopefully that's addressed in this set. So I don't want to waste too much time, and we're going to, at this point, what I might do is when I edit this together, we'll speed up certain segments and we'll go through it. So
a little button here that says jump forward to the front
that's it,
stuff.
skip forward. So we are going to put the code cards off to the side, and we will, I think this is the pack, yep, it's got the energy in it. So we put the energies off to the side, and let's see what we get in our first pack. So we start off with a Panseer. Some of the cards you're looking for would be some of the key GX in the set: Magikarp, Rattata, Wimpod, Togedemaru, Electabuzz, Lana, Metapod, Sneasel, and Beware. So nothing really great in that first booster. I think, interestingly, the Lana as a supporter lets you heal 50 damage from each Pokemon that has water energy attached to it. So maybe in Water Box you could use it, you could play it. It's debatable whether it's any good, but I think we'll put our trainer off there.
I think it has its own space if you're going full out and running.
Correct. And then Beware was the rare in the box, so nothing too amazing there. So put that off to the side, and we'll go through. So I was saying one of the key cards that we are looking for is, of course, Gardevoir GX. Gardevoir GX has a pretty good ability. It lets you attach a fairy energy from your hand once per turn. So with a double colorless and a fairy energy from hand, you have 3 energy on it, and it does damage based on the amount of energy on you and your opponent's Pokemon. So really, really good. So I don't think I did the trick, so let's just do that. Alright. And we get a Sandygast, Venipede, Horsey, Mudbray, what's that? Ladybird, Charmeleon, Tormenting Spray. Another one of those cards that's debatable whether it's usable or not. It really helps you take supporters out of your opponent's hand. Lana, Magikarp as a reverse, and a Lucario as the rare. So Lucario's ability, when you play this Pokemon from your hand, to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn. Prevent all effects of your opponent's attacks, including damage done to this Pokemon, until the end of your opponent's next turn. So it looks good on the surface, but the reality is that your opponent can just play a Guzma and get around that.
Yeah, and the biggest question is, it looks good, but does it actually have playability?
Very limited playability. I think it was about the only rare that I pulled during the pre-release, which was disappointing. So we'll see what we get here. And yeah, it just generally doesn't really have a place in the current meta. So we get a Sandygast, Venipede, Sneasel, Alolan Vulpix. This is not the good Alolan Vulpix.
Yeah.
Beacon and the last set, Energyless attack.
I ran that one, it was absolutely wonderful.
It's fantastic. You can play it in any deck, even non-water type decks, just to help you set up, especially getting those key pieces for stage 2 decks. Horsey.
And then Ninetales, obviously.
Yeah, for Ninetales it's critical, and Metagross GX. It's kind of a must-have card. Poton's interesting. You can put 3 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon whenever they evolve it. So helping you set up some of those attacks that are based off the amount of damage on your opponent's Pokemon.
Yeah, absolutely.
We lose Team Magma's secret base in this set, which was, in a way, did this. And this really will help us to do that. So for decks like Drampa, this can actually be pretty helpful in setting up the damage that Drampa needs to do Berserk. We get a Rotom Dex, Pokefinder Mode, Simipour, our reverse is a Weavile, and we get a Darkrai GX. Okay, so this is another one of those cards that everybody's after.
Yes.
And really the reason is that it's got this restoration ability. So what restoration says is, once during your turn, if this Darkrai is in your discard pile, you may pick it up out of the discard together with the dark energy, attach that dark energy to it and place it on your bench.
Wow.
So the idea here is that you pair it together with Darkrai EX, which has the Dark Pulse attack, which is powered by the amount of dark energy in play on your Pokemon. So it just helps to add up. With a Max Elixir, an attachment for turn, and a Darkrai GX, you actually set up with 3 energy from the first turn, and the attack is 20 plus, so you're actually doing 80 from turn 1.
It definitely seems more about how much energy you get out of the first turn.
Yeah, this is pure energy, like straight energy acceleration. The attack is 130, which is not bad, and the attack isn't affected by resistance, which is pretty good.
Yes.
Particularly since Gardevoir GX is dark resistant, it is helpful. And then we've got Dead End GX. If your opponent's active Pokemon is affected by a special condition, that Pokemon is knocked out. So the other Darkrai EX also has a second attack that's powered based on whether the opponent's Pokemon is asleep. So it was originally played with Hypno. Doesn't really work, so it's debatable, but it is definitely something to consider. So we'll put that over there on the side, and let's put our reverse over there, and our supporters, and go on to the next pack. Cool. So we'll see how we do for time, and what we can get away with. What's interesting is as you go through these booster packs, you'll see that the color of the code card gives away whether you're going to get an ultra rare or not. The Dark Ray GX pack had a white code card, which means you're going to get something good.
Yeah, it's very strange, but yes. I wonder why Pokemon does it.
Well, I suppose it's helpful for us to know what we're going to get, but it is also in the printing, because an ultra rare is heavier, so they put a lighter code card in to stop you from being the way packs.
Oh, wow.
So there's a microgram of difference between a pack with an ultra rare and a pack without. You used to be able to actually weigh packs and actually identify packs with better cards in them.
That's pretty
so to combat that, Pokemon has done this. So that's really how they got around it. They put different thickness cards in to counter that. So all packs should weigh the same, or at least have enough variation that you can't see. Get a Pansage, Krogunk, Pikachu, Panpour, Cutiefly, Porygon 2, Hotown, Dusclops. Our reverse is a Togedemaru, and Araquanid for our rare. So Bubble Net, not a great attack. In the last set there was an Araquanid which is a water type, and it prevented all effective attacks, I think, including damage done by fire Pokemon. Which is interesting because a lot of Volcanion decks don't play Hexmaniac. So wouldn't be able to shut that down, and that would mean if you got that set up, they technically can never actually hit you, which is pretty cool. So yeah, that's it's really questionable whether you'd ever be able to get that set up in time, of course. Cool, so we get a Duskull, Inkay, Stuffle, Crabrawler, which Crabominal was the promo I got in the pre-release, Curlier for our Gardevoir GX, Heatmore, reprint of Weakness Policy, not a great trainer, pretty terrible. Our reverse is a Kingdra rare, so that's really good. This has also got some potential, and we get an Azumarill as our regular rare. Cool. So one GX out of our first 5 packs, which is not too bad. I think that's kind of expected. And let's go for the next 5.
That seems to be pretty standard.
Yeah, I think
watching the guys open at the shop, it's pretty standard.
Probably looking at getting about 4 to 5 ultra rares from the box, but you never know. Maybe we'll get a surprise in this one and get something better.
A secret would be nice.
Secret rare. Actually, the one thing I didn't pull any GXs, but I did pull a secret rare Dark Energy. No different to a normal Dark Energy.
Could be useful.
Could be useful. So we get a Tynamo, Crabrawler, Inkay, Ladybug, Caterpie, Whirlipede, Semisage, another Weakness Policy. Our reverse is a Crabominable. It's actually really good. For 1 energy it does 80 less, and it does 10 damage to itself for each damage counter on it. So obviously the more it gets damaged, the more it loses. But in a pre-release, this was really, really good. 80 damage for 1 energy is amazing.
Well, also you go to Max Elixir, heal it up, and just carry on with it again.
Yeah, you could do that actually. Max Potion, that's very true. And then a new Persimmon, I haven't actually seen this. Punch for double colorless. The 30 doesn't seem good. And then 2 fighting, discard a Pokemon tool. So not amazing, but that was our rare from that pack. Cool. So maybe in our next 5 we'll be lucky.
A white one?
Yeah, something. There's definitely something in this one. So, yep, definitely got something. So we got Alolan Grimer, Sneasel, Crabrawler, Meowth, Stuffle, another Whirlipede, Tormenting Spray, Simisage, Simisear is our reverse, which is pretty cool. And we get a Golisopod GX, another card that I think a lot of people will be looking for. It goes really well with the Wimpod that it evolves from. Wimpod's got an ability which says it has 3 retreat if it's I think if it came to play that turn, or if it hasn't evolved. I can't remember the exact ability. But basically, the idea here is that you switch into the Wimpod, you evolve into the Golisopod, and what it says is if this Pokemon was on your bench and became your active this turn, then it does 90 more damage. So for one grass, you can do 120.
Yeah.
So you evolve up on the bench, retreat into this Pokemon, and you're doing 120 for a single grass attachment. With Forest of Giant Plants, it's quite easy to set up. Forest will get rotated and then banned straight afterwards. So after Worlds, Forest of Giant Plants is out of play entirely, but really good as a potential for Worlds. Yeah. So this is definitely a card I've been looking for. I know a lot of guys are quite excited to try out Galospod and see if they can make it work. Cool, so pretty good pull rate so far. Probably nothing in this pack. We got a green card, but let's see what happens.
Only hope they made a mistake.
Yeah, you can only hope. So we get a Tangela, Rhyhorn, Riolu, Cutiefly, Tynamo, Curlier, Rabombi, a Guzma. This is the trainer I was talking about. So this lets you switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active. If you do, switch your active Pokemon with already benched Pokemon. So it's an escape rope and a lay sand all in one. Really good. I think a lot of people are pretty excited to have this card in the format.
It's a double setup at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's really good.
Time it right.
And there's a really nice full art version of this card as well, which if we pull, we would be very lucky.
You full art.
I love my full arts. Mount Lanakila. Retreat cost of each basic Pokemon played, both yours and your opponent's, is 1 more. This was another card that was great in pre-release. I played the Soul Rock for Dark Energy, for a Fighting Energy. If you had a Stadium, did some pretty decent damage. And then I played Vileplume, which said your opponent's basic Pokemon can't attack or do anything to it. So this was pretty good to play as combo with that. And then we get a Persian as our regular rare.
It's very strange. I started when Pokemon when it originally came out, and I left for a while.
Yeah.
How there's so many Pokemon I still remember from Generation 1.
Yeah.
And it's still going on.
They still print them. I mean, I think it's always exciting when they reprint some of your favorites. I think for a lot of people, every time they reprint a Charizard, they get super excited. Charizard's always been pretty terrible. So I think we have potentially something here as well. We've got a white code card. We've got a Marill, Hoothoot, Rhyhorn, Ralts, Tangela, Plumeria. This will be good in mill decks to be able to discard cards from your opponent's hand. Super Scoop Up got a reprint, really awesome. In Tapu Koko GX, this is going to be fantastic. Lets you pick up your Pokemon and all cards attached to it back into your hand if you flip heads. So pretty awesome as a trainer. Another Guzma. Our reverse is a Pansear. And we get a Noivern GX Full Art as our rare. So that's really awesome.
That's actually been pretty good 5 boosters.
That's been pretty good.
Yeah.
The loss of Double Dragon Energy is going to take a real chunk out of the playability of this card. As a stage 1, pretty good. The main thing is its Sonic Volume attack for 120. Your opponent can't play any special energy cards from their hand during the next turn. And the Distort attack for a dark and a colorless. Your opponent can't play any item cards from their hand during the next turn. So it's a kind of a combo of the old Giratina EX, trying to lock your opponent on playing certain cards from their hand, which is really good if you can get it set up. But the energy cost for Dragon Pokemon is always kind of really prohibitive and weird.
But it's also always the problem that comes in is you're never quite sure what's happening in the next set.
Yeah.
So it looks impossible now, and then the next set they print something that makes it completely plausible.
Well, the Double Dragon reprint would change everything. So
that's another white one, eh?
It is another white code. So maybe we are back-to-back lucky. We'll see. We get a Mudbray, a Ladybug, Hoothoot, Vulpix, Ralts, Plumeria, Lunatone, Olivia, another trainer you haven't seen. Search your deck for up to 2 Pokemon GX, reveal them and put them into your hand. So this could be useful to help you set up in Stage 2 GX decks. We get a Sophocles as our reverse. Another decent trainer card. Discard 2 cards from your hand. If you do, draw 4 cards. It's a reprint of a card I think was called Felicity back in the old days. Could see some play. You could discard a Darkrai and a Dark Energy, for example, draw 4 cards and then put them back on your bench. And then we get a Raichu as our rare. So that's pretty cool. What is this? No, just a regular Raichu. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may leave your opponent's active Pokemon paralyzed. Okay, that's pretty cool. So I'll put put that over here in our rare pile. And that was our next 5. So not too bad. Off of 10 packs, we've got 3 ultra rares and quite a big chunk of trainer cards, which I think is what's also pretty critical for a lot of people in the set.
It's your bread and butter.
Yeah. Trainers, I mean, I know they're not sexy to look at when you pull them, but they are.
Unless they're full art.
Unless they're full art. I would really like some full art trainers, but yeah. So let's have a look here. So let me just check the camera. Okay, cool. So we've got a Pansage, Esper, Pikachu, Noibat, Dupida, Wick, or Wicker, or however you want to pronounce it. Each player counts the cards in their hand, shuffles those cards into their deck, then draws that many cards. Interesting card. I can see this leading to a lot of fights. Both players have got to count their hand, be very specific. Everybody needs to remember, shuffle back, go through a whole process, and then draw that many cards.
But at the same time, it refreshes your hand. It doesn't matter, even though if you have a full hand, your bench of Pokemon is full, and you only have Pokemon in your hand, it gives you another option.
It does. I think the main issue here is you have no reference point once you've shuffled back.
Yeah.
And that's what people are concerned around. Wobbuffet, Seadra, Darkrai. This is actually, I saw this today for the first time. So Hypnoblast for a dark and a colorless, 30. Your opponent's Pokemon is now asleep. Dark Raid for a dark and double colorless, 80. But if your opponents use their GX attack, it does 80 more damage. So 160 if they use the GX, actually pretty good. In a fairly tanky 120 HP basic, so not bad. And then a Bruxish as our rare.
I must admit that face, eh? That face.
Terrible card. I got that in the Guardians Rising pre-release. It was just horrible. Always terrible pre-release sets. So
you make up for all the other good games, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have the luck of that pool, that's for sure. So we get a Duskull, Esper, Moral, Charmander, Porygon, another Super Scoop Up, Rotom Dex, Seadra, reverses an Inkay, and a Alolan Raticate is our rare. This is actually pretty good in pre-release. The Rattata can attack for no energy to set up its next attack for a dark, and it does 60, which is pretty good. And with a tool card attached, this does 60 for no energy, so pretty good.
But strangely enough, if you actually look at it, it's always sealed events. It's a complete different ball game.
Oh yeah.
It's than you would normally just build a deck from.
Yeah.
And so it's the cards that totally make no sense in current formats. It's almost gold in a sealed event.
Yeah, some of those pre-release cards, I mean, they're completely unplayable beyond that, but in that pre-release, they are magic. So we get a Crabrawler, a Morlul, Sandygast, Venipede, Horsey, Ribombee. Interesting whether this is going to see any play or not. The ability lets you look for 2 basic energy cards, reveal them, put them into your hand once during your turn. So really good just if you can accelerate energy. So for example in a God of War GX deck, but it does seem a bit slow to have a stage 1. The Sophocles, Seviper. This was a pre-release promo as well. Put 1 more damage count on your opponent's poison Pokemon between turns. So interesting as a way to kind of accelerate poison damage. Marill as our reverse, and a new Shiinotic as our regular rare.
It definitely seems in the Sun and Moon set that it's quite
evolution focused.
It's not just evolution, but they're pushing the whole energy ramp.
Yeah.
If I could say that. It's bringing about energy as fast as possible. I mean, you were discussing previously how you can get how many energies on turn 1?
You can get 3 on your Darkrais. It's interesting because there used to be a lot more ways to accelerate energy, but you know we've had some of the reprints of, for example, the patches. Like we've had Aqua Patch, which is effectively a Dark Patch reprint, which is really good. We've got the Max Elixir, and yeah, we've got a couple of other options around acceleration. So really good options to accelerate. We've got a Porygon, Sork, Oddish, Charmander, Marill. Bodybuilding dumbbells, I don't really see this card getting much play. Stage 1s get 40 more HP, but with Field Blower in the format, it's questionable whether it's of any use. Sophocles, Electabuzz, we get a Malmar as our regular rare, and then we get a Hyper Rare or Rainbow Rare Tapu Fini GX. It's the first time I've actually seen a Tapu Fini. This is another card that a lot of people are suggesting will do well in the Water Box. Really cool. Love the artwork. That is pretty beautiful.
Even though you're pulling it, that's the reason why. I'm just saying, you know.
For sure, it is actually really pretty. That's awesome. Okay, so 1 more in the next 5. So we pulled 1 Rainbow Rare and 3 Ultra Rares. That's pretty good, I would say, pull rate wise. Not too bad at all. Let me just move these over here. Get rid of the energy, and let's see what we get in our 15th pack. We get a Wimpod. Let's have a look at that ability. Wimp out. During your first turn, this Pokemon has no retreat cost. So that helps you set up with the Forest Giant Plants. Pokemon Silk, Mudbray, Oddish, Gloom. Escape Rope gets a reprint, another fantastic trainer card. Solrock, this is the one I was talking about. 20 plus 20 more if there's a stadium card. And double draw, drawing 2 cards for any energy. This was really good in pre-release. Duskull is our reverse, and then this is another card I was quite excited about. Alolan Ninetales, which has the ability Luminous Barrier. So a lot of us will be used to the Safeguard type Pokemon. Most recently that would be Carbink, but we have also had Suicune, and we have had Sigilyph, both with Safeguard, preventing attacks from EX Pokemon. Now, in the next format, when there's no Hexmaniac and they're reliant on Garbodor to shut down abilities, this is going to be really good. Luminous Barrier, prevent all effects of attacks, including damage, done to this Pokemon by your opponent's Pokemon GX or EX. So in Alolan Ninetales GX, this is a one-off card, can really just change games. That is a fantastic
If you actually
card.
take that with the one that actually swaps out your opponent's Pokemon and your Pokemon, it works out brilliantly.
Yeah.
You can ensure that the right stuff's on the battlefield.
It's really, really good. I'm quite excited about that card. I was lucky enough to get a reverse of that as well, so got my reverse hollow versions. So let's go to the next 5. So we've got some pretty decent rares and some pretty decent ultra rares.
She's pretty.
Oops, just bumped the camera, so let's just check that we're all good. We're all still good. Okay. Alright, let's see what we get. Maybe we can get something good from the right hand side of the box. Cutiefly, Tynamo, Duskull, Inkay, Stuffle, Wishful Baton. This is kind of like a slightly different version of EXP Share. But what it basically says you do is you can move up to 3 basic energy cards from this Pokemon to one of your bench Pokemon. So if it's knocked out, that energy gets preserved and moves back onto the bench. If it can stay on attached, without being field blowed off, pretty cool to preserve energy on the field. The Solrock, Simipour, Gyarados as our reverse,
Quite
so
nice.
we get a reverse rare. That's pretty cool. And then Electivire as our regular rare, which is not great, but
We'll take them when you can get them.
yeah, we'll take what we get. Sometimes it's better to get
Shiny cards.
something terrible as we go, and then get something better down the line. So let's see what we got here. We got a Magikarp, Mudbray, Tata, Panpour, Caterpie, Metapod, another Wishful Baton, Acerola. This is another trainer that we haven't seen yet. This is basically a combination of Super Scoop Up and AZ.
Okay.
AZ would force you to discard all cards attached to the Pokemon, but you could return it to your hand. Acerola returns everything with that Pokemon. So this card is going to be really good. I mentioned Tapu Koko GX, another card that's going to be really good in that deck. Put one of your Pokemon that has any damage counters on it, and all cards attached to it into your hand.
Yeah, it becomes a situation of you don't mind the damage being on it.
Yeah,
because
it comes straight off.
It gives you an option. Absolutely
Correct. So this is really good. I mean,
and especially for a Pokemon that might have it enter when it enters.
Yeah.
Or he
it
plays.
has damage on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trigger happens. Yeah.
Correct. We get a Lycanroc. I think this was a card that the Japanese sets got and we didn't. That's our reverse. And we get a Meowstic. This was also really good in pre-release 10 times the amount of cards in your hand as damage, with the Pokemon, the pre-evolution causing your opponent to be psychic weak. So if you're able to play that, cause a psychic weakness, and then evolve up into this, you would actually do really well.
If you actually pair that up previously with this one, Solrock,
Yeah.
fill up your hand.
Yeah, I mean, that's for drawing cards in a pre-release is so important.
You just fill up your hand and then bring that up and deal damage to it.
I mean, a lot of people do pull fairly decent trainers in pre-release, but I don't, so
Take anything you can get.
I take what I can get, yeah. And
Where
that
did
was,
you come today, by the way?
that is I didn't play today, I judged today.
Oh, excuse
I
us.
played the last one, and in the last one I think I came like second. Yes, I came second. So it was second or third. I was actually undefeated until my final game, but I think resistance and so on might have come into play. I can't remember what the ultimate end was.
Old age. happens.
Old age, that's it. Panpour, Cutiefly, Fancier, Magikarp, Frittata, Escape Rope.
Another great one.
No, another mount. What is that? Lanakila. Heatmore is our reverse, and a Slowking as our regular rare. So nothing amazing, but
We have
always
faith.
nice to get a
We have faith.
reverse rare. It's better than nothing. Another green code, so you know that's okay. Alright, we get a Riolu, Cutie Fly, a lot of Cutie Flies, Dupila, Togamaru, Wimpod, Cameria, Solrock, another Guzma, that's great. Reverse is a Meowth, and we get a Crabominable as our regular rare. Okay, so we've got a lot of really good trainer cards in this box. Pretty much filling up on the staples, which is sometimes just as important as pulling a whole lot of rares.
And that's one of the biggest problems the kids come in. They don't actually
Yeah.
have enough of the trainers that
The basic
support everything
staples.
else.
That's it.
100%.
Charmander, Porygon, Marill, Hoothoot, Rhyhorn, Super Scoop Up, Guzma, wow, that's really good. Whirlipede, a Scolipede as our reverse, which is a rare, and then a Shiinotic as our regular rare. So we've done quite well on the reverse rares, I've got to be honest.
There's a couple of rares going in there.
Yeah, so let's go on to the next 5. So we're still on 4 for the hyper rares.
We did very well on the one side. Hopefully
We did.
we catch up from the back side of this one.
This one I think is a good one.
Yeah, we get a hold thumb.
So we've got something decent in this bunch. Let's hold thumbs for something like a full art. Caterpie, Marill, Rhyhorn, Sandygast, Hoothoot, Seviper, Super Scoop Up, Simipour, Charmander, and we get a Gardevoir GX. This is the card.
This is the one that everyone's looking for.
This is the one that I'm looking for. So I have to talk after this. But yeah, that one is definitely one of the cards that everybody's after.
My question to you, so if you want to get a full art trainer of this set, which one would it be?
Definitely Guzma.
Guzma,
I think
okay.
it's going for something like $50 at the moment,
Wow.
which is a lot of money for a trainer card that does effectively the same thing as the non-full art. But I think we are lucky back-to-back in this
With the boot
side.
throw, wow.
Sneasel, speaking of full art
Yeah,
trainers,
speaking, eh?
Vulpix, Horsey, Noibat, Grimer, Wobbuffet, Seadra, Plumeria.
You're way too excited. Relax. Take it
Yeah,
down
we've
a
got a
minute.
Kiawe, which is actually another card we haven't talked about, so this is our reverse. Really good in a Volcanion Turtonator GX deck. So if you start with a Turtonator and you play Kiawe, you can attach 4 energy to that Turtonator on your turn. It does end your turn. But the Turtonator is then effectively set up to take a knockout, discard the energy, then use its GX attack to reattach all those energies.
Absolutely.
Really, really awesome as a trainer. And we get a full art Ho-Oh GX. Okay, this is another card, speaking of Volcanion, a lot of people have been considering including in the deck. Sacred Fire, for a fire and a double colorless, does 50 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon, so you can snipe on the bench if you need to. Then for 3 fire and a colorless, 180 damage, which is a good number. For the Choice Band and a Steam Up, you're hitting massive numbers. And then Eternal Flame GX, put 3 of any combination of Fire Pokemon GX or Fire Pokemon EX from your discard pile onto your bench. So you can recover your lost
I actually
cards.
just want to touch on that. You said the first ability, the snipe ability.
Yeah.
I always find that the younger kids, they never actually focus on that.
Yeah,
They never
get off
actually.
the bench.
Yes, you understand. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter about beating the Pokemon in front in the arena.
Yeah.
It's sometimes just getting that quick kill,
Yeah.
knockout.
Or
Like
preventing
this.
that guy that they've been building up on the bench the whole time from coming up and just sweeping the field.
And it's still a prize card. It's a prize card.
It's a prize card, and sometimes taking out the bench is actually better in the long run. So I think definitely doing bench damage is one of those things that you always want to look for in every deck if you can, to have some ability to damage the bench. Mudbray, Oddish, Duskull, Esper. This was the one I was talking about earlier. Pexing Eyes, the defending Pokemon's weakness is now Psychic until the end of the next turn. Morlal, Sophocles, Escape Rope, Rotom Dex, Crabrawler as our reverse, and Persimmon as our regular rare. Cool. So, not too bad. A pretty decent box, I must say. And hopefully we can get something more
white card,
decent.
we'll take
Another
it.
white card, so that doesn't mean it's necessarily hyper rare, but at least something. But I think we got something good. Mudbray, Tynamo, Oddish, Duskull, Morlal, Sophocles, Seviper, Wicker. We get a reverse Potown, and then a Charizard GX. Wow, okay.
Discussing the Charizard
Speaking
earlier
of
on.
Charizards, everybody
Yes.
loves Charizard except me. I think they just never print this guy with a good attack. So Wing Attack, is just a standard Charizard attack. 70 damage for 3 colorless, and then 3 fire and a double colorless for 300 damage. Charizard always has these kind of like crazy overpowered attacks that need infinite amounts of energy and then just discard them all when you do 300.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think the only thing you'd be hitting that needs that much to knock it out would be something like a Solgaleo, you know, or a...
in the shop today we were having the discussion.
Yeah.
The Solgaleo is like a tank.
But it's
And
weak
the-
to fire.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's like the only thing you're knocking out is already weak to you. So, questionable value, but definitely collector value. And I think that's the one thing about Charizards. I was watching this clip from Pawn Stars where the guy brought his Charizard collections in to try and pawn them off. I think he wanted some crazy amount of money. They are worth that, but finding someone to pay that is question. Yeah. Got a Caterpie, Sandygast, Venipede, Wick, Wishful Baton, that's Rubombi, Lucario as our reverse, and then an Electivire as our regular rare. So just going to neaten up our giant pile of supporters and trainers.
I'm just putting them under the table, so it's fine.
So that's pretty cool. And let's see. So we've got our next 5, and then after that we've got, how many left? Another 6.
Yeah.
Okay. So that'll be our 36. So we've got, what are we on now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, it's been a fair amount.
Which is actually pretty good. And maybe we can get 1 or 2 more if we want to be greedy before we finish off this box.
Or you mean lucky?
Greedy or lucky, we get a Magikarp, Rattata, Wimpod, Togedemaru, Sork, Escape Rope, Solrock, Rubombi. We get a reverse Alolan Grimer, and a Deontay as our rare. This is actually pretty cool. Another card to consider in Gardevoir GX decks. Sparkling Wish, search your deck for a card that evolves from one of your Pokemon and put it onto that Pokemon to evolve it, then shuffle your deck. So really just setting you up, getting those evolutions in play as you need them. So definitely something to consider, potentially post-rotation, but I don't think beforehand. So let's have a look what else we can get. Maybe we can get a couple of nice reverse rares. Panpour, Pansage, Esper, Noibat, Stuffle, Seadra, Gloom, Lunatone, reverse Horsey, and a Lycanroc as our regular rare. Alright, so we've got what? 9 packs left.
A white?
And white, so it could be something. At this point, I always start thinking you're probably just going to get some kind of normal, nice to have rare, but you never know. Ralts, Tangela, Tynamo, Crabrawler, Wishful Baton, another Acerola, that's always useful. A reverse Alolan Raticate, and a Zygarde. So, as I thought, just a nice to have rare, but nothing that's going to win you any games, that's for sure. If you played it in pre-release, you know it's not anything to write home about.
Yes.
So I definitely think it's one of those cards you might want to include, but then quickly realize you don't. We get a Croagunk, Pikachu, Panpour, Cutiefly, Pansear, Dusclops, Acerola, really good. Bodybuilding Dumbbells, Tynamo as our reverse, and an Azumarill as our regular rare. Okay,
What
so...
are you thinking Azumarill?
Cute, but never going to see any competitive play. You know, I think Pokemon that have abilities that cause less damage are good, but if you look at something like, we had a Bouffalant with the Bouffa ability, it was fantastically good in the format, but Pokemon these days are doing such massive numbers that, you know, reducing damage by 30 on a 120 HP stage 1 Pokemon, it's kind of, you know...
It's not relevant.
It's not relevant, yeah. Cute, but irrelevant.
It's kind of that kind of deck that you want to teach kids how the game
as a
concept
trainer
is.
deck, it's
Yes,
fantastic.
yes.
That's right. Pikachu, Pansear, Charmander, Alolan Rattata, Porygon, Rhydon, Bodybuilding Dumbbells, Metapod. There's that Vileplume I was talking about. Disgusting Pollen. As long as this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, your opponent's basic Pokemon can't attack. So they can't even attack, which is pretty cool in a pre-release. It's actually really, really good.
Yeah, if you set yourself up right with it.
Yeah, that's one of those Pokemon you start building up on the bench, and then your opponent's left with not much to do. So we're into the last 6 packs, and we hope to get 1 more, I think. That would be
8 would be a good number.
8 would be a good
8
number.
out of 36 is a pretty good number.
I think 8 would be just right. So this is definitely not the pack we're going to get one in, but...
I'm still hoping for full art trainer. It's my birthday.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, we're gonna hold on to thumbs.
Interesting. This guy's got a bit of damage. This rare on the top and the bottom. So something to look out for is what kind of damage cards have when they come straight out of the pack. Something like these we would sleeve straight after this, and if they're decent, you could even go and send them for PSA grading.
Yes.
Noctowl, Mount Lanakila.
For example, the Charizard that no one's ever going to play.
Exactly.
And
The Charizard
will carry value.
has definitely got some value, and then a Butterfree as our regular rare. So nothing in that one. Right, so now we do have our final 5 and a green card. So, don't want to be spoiler, but we got a Grimer, Crabrawler, Meowth, Stuffle, Pansage, Simipour, Bouffalant. I was talking about Bouffalant earlier. This is not the good Bouffalant, but it does actually have the Boofer ability, but in an attack. For double colorless, during your opponent's next turn, this Pokemon takes 30 less damage. Another card that was really good in pre-release. But
again, is it relevant in the current format?
Not relevant in the current format, but in pre-release, it's great. We get a reverse Pikachu. Everybody loves Pikachu, and a Crabominable as our regular rare.
Strangely enough, it's one of the most asked for Pokemon in the shop.
Pikachu.
Pikachu and Mewtwo.
Yeah, I can imagine. And Mew, I think, is another legendary that everybody loves. Alright, so we get a Togedemaru, Wimpod, Meowth, Magikarp, Krogunk, Bouffalant, Charmeleon, Rhydon, Lana reverse as our reverse, and a Ho-Oh GX regular art. So we saw the full art earlier, which was beautiful, and this is the regular art. So 2 Ho-Oh GX, pretty cool. We've seen what it does. Pity we didn't get something different, but at least it's a rare, right?
That's the famous words, that's where the cards fall.
That's right. So maybe we can be super lucky and get one more really cool card before we finish off this box in our last 2 packs after this. Sork, Mudbray, Oddish, Duskull, Esper, Mount Lanakila, Electabuzz, Noctowl, Mudbray as our reverse, and a Heracross. This is actually pretty cool. It's got the ability Guts. If this Pokemon will be knocked out by damage from an attack, flip a coin. If heads, this Pokemon is not knocked out and its remaining HP is 10. So that's quite cool. It's kind of like a...
Live, it's based on your luck.
It's based on luck. There used to be a tool card that would do that for fighting Pokemon,
yes.
but that rotated out, and it was really good, particularly even in Donphan.
Especially if you just need one more turn.
Just sometimes just that one turn is all you need. And getting that extra turn is really just too good. So Hoothoot, Vulpix, Ralts, Grimer, Sneasel, Porygon 2, Kiawe, Olivia, Rotom Dex, and an Electros regular rare.
The last one.
Last pack.
Drum roll.
What does it have for us? I don't foresee this being a good one. But you never know, maybe we'll just get some great trainers and supporters. So we have a Noibat, Alolan Grimer, Riolu, Cutiefly, Dupida, Heatmore, Simisear, Kiawe, great trainer, a Reverse Lycanroc, and a Turtonator as our regular rare. We haven't seen this. We spoke about Turtonator GX earlier. This is a new basic Turtonator. For a fire colorless, attach a fire energy from your discard pile to this Pokemon. So not probably going to see much use, but pretty cool to have another Turtonator in the format. So let's have a quick look at what we pulled in terms of hyper rares again, and then we can just go through the trainers one more time. So let's go through the 2 Ho-Ohs that we got, 1 full art and 1 regular art. That is pretty cool. Put those over there. We'll sleeve those up. We got the full art Noivern, so that goes in the full art pile. We got the regular art Gardevoir GX. This is really going to see so much play. I just see this being one of the top decks to beat, and Metagross GX being there to try and counter that. Tapu Fini was our Rainbow Hyper Rare. Tapu Fini GX will see some play in water decks. We then got the Darkrai that everybody's also looking for. Questionable how many of these you need to play in the deck to make it a success. 1 or 2, but just a general good support Pokemon for that. Golisopod GX, definitely this is a deck that I want to try out. but I think you do need a full line of it. So
I also think it's one of those decks. It's either going to work or it's don't, and it's only going to be a sudden thing that people realize if it does.
In early testing, it's been really good. I've watched quite a lot of guys test the deck, and I really like it. I think it's just super fantastic, but going to be really short-lived without Forested Giant Plants.
Absolutely.
So it's one of those cards you might want to get now, but very soon you're not going to necessarily want it. And then I suppose this is the card that everybody's happy to pull, but will probably never play. It's a Binder Filler, our Stage 2 Charizard GX, 250 HP Fire-type Pokemon with a lot of terrible attacks. So pretty cool. That's 8 Hyper Rares altogether, and a big fat stack of really good trainer cards. Let's just show you how many decent trainers we got in that box. That's really, really good. You know, this would really set you up for the next season with everything you need for the set. And we actually got a pretty decent amount of reverse rares as well from the box. Some playable cards, I think. Not too bad as a booster box. I think actually that's pretty good as a booster box. Pity we didn't get the full art trainer, but you never know. We do have another video I think we will do during the week, which is to look at some of the pre-release boxes and see maybe we pull a full art trainer or two in those.
I'm very excited to try that.
Yeah, full art Kiawe would be cool. Full art Guzma would be really nice. But yeah, let's see what we get. Cool. Thanks, Dane, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Hope you guys enjoyed. So like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys with the next video. Cheers, everybody.